Welcome to Empowering Rural Communities. How you guys all feeling? It's the beginning of the year. Go ahead, Laura, I saw you unmuted.
I'm open really to anything. I'm just excited to be able to communicate with people again, even though it was nice to have a little break here at the Hall of Fame, but just to kind of reach out to everyone and say, you know, if you're going virtual and you need some STEM support, just let me know. I'm here for you.
Yeah, that's a great point, right? Of gathering those resources and kind of trying for that fresh start. But I think, as Sadie mentioned, it's a little crazy everywhere with the spikes and, you know, great point. I met when I was in Michigan, I met with Bay City to check it out. And I'm also curious if they're, you know, what the status would be. We were hoping at this point things would be closer to back to normal, but it just continues to get, you know, unruly and not manageable. So good point. How many of you are actually going? Because we also talked about having that rural meetup at the convening. So getting it into the calendar. So I'm thinking day 2. Well, I'm not sure if everybody kind of knows the agenda, but day 1 is half day, get to know everybody, keynotes, presentation, openings kind of thing. And then day 2 is field trips and EDE sessions. So I thought that would be a good place for us to try to have an EDE session for rural if we want, but I'm not going to force it either. We could just have a happy hour. I would love to know what your thoughts are. So we're pretty excited. We're going to have CSOs on site. A lot of our team members are able to go. So it's a cute little area if you've never been to Bay City, Michigan. Oh, good. A couple other people that are headed up there. Sweet. All right. So today's discussion, I'll keep it brief, but I just wanted to talk about, you know, your plans from last month, like your 30-day challenge. And we talked about student voice. So this month would be talking about student voice. How do you get students engaged in the decision making and really considering having students on advisory panels or bringing them to your location and having them attend an ecosystem planning meeting just as a representative or a one-time thing? It could really empower them. So I'm curious if any of you have students engaged on student advisory boards or are members of your ecosystem, because what we found is that we're a lot older. We don't know what's cool anymore. So we ask them to integrate into any planning sessions of a training or anytime we meet up, what kind of food. They're tired of pizza, ironically. Even though it's the cheapest, and we think like, oh, they'll eat pizza. They'll eat everything and they're thankful. But we found that students actually like sandwiches, chips, and a cookie or wraps, right? It's a little adult-ish for them. So I'm just curious, we can run around the room or you can post in the chat ways that you'd like to engage students this year. And, you know, just give yourself a small goal of maybe hosting a conversation or maybe a focus group about your activities that you do. You could bring 5 students together and say, how did it go? And have them have an hour-long open session, even on a digital call. So is there anybody that's willing to go first and kind of share their ideas?
One of our hopes for our CSO program is to have our students be part of our ecosystem. We have a statewide convening coming up, and we would like them to be key partners in that project. So yeah, that's a big part of our rollout, increasing student voice, especially in those rural populations. Now that we have our hub coordinators in place, that's really going to help.
That's awesome. You'll find that they're hard workers too. Like they want, if any of you were previously classroom teachers, they're the extra set of hands that are like, what do you need, Mr. McFarland? What can I help you with? Go ahead, Linda. I saw you unmuted.
I'm Linda Stone. I'm with Southeast Kentucky STEM ecosystem, so also very rural areas, and we are getting inundated with snow right now. So it's a fun day. All the schools canceled before the snow even got here, knowing that the snow was coming. That should tell you how well Kentucky deals with snow. So, but as far as student leadership, I work for Partners for Education at Berea College. And so we have a lot of federal grants that have student leadership written into those grants, Gear Up grants and Promise Neighborhood grants. And because of that, I've had a lot of good luck convincing them to use some of their internship money that needs to be for high school students to do internships that are focused very similarly to the CSO program, except these students are actually paid to do this and to work down into our our elementary middle schools. We have a lot of K-8s in that area. And so we target high school juniors and seniors that came from those schools, if we can find them, to kind of, because they're all still in that community, right? And so they're able to go back and they see these students on a regular basis. And we're finding that place-based is really making a huge impact in the work that we're doing. As far as I then take those juniors and seniors, and probably the best ecosystem meeting I ever had was one that I had about 6 of them in the room with us. I had one at every table. And the students couldn't believe what they were seeing, the data they were seeing when we were sharing it with them. It shocked them because they're told, oh, we're doing great. And it's only when they can see themselves compared to schools or communities in there. And I think it's okay to share that with them. At that point, it's time for them to be able to look at it and say, oh, there are some things we need to do differently. But it really changed our conversation in what a student can do. So much so that they are allowing these students to now go out and lead things in the schools. Like they come up with the project ideas and they go out and they do them in the schools. And so, or they do them in the community. One big one that's going on right now is teaching, they're doing a memory tree because this one community in particular has had a lot of deaths because of COVID, because of accident, lots of stuff. It's a coal mining community, and they wanted to do a memory tree. So they're going to actually create this art piece. It's a huge tree out of metal, and then using copper, they're going to stamp different leaves and create. And the students are learning how to do that, how to forge that, how to stamp it, how to cut them, and how to make them unique to each person so that they can go out and allow the students to do it, but they're also learning the science behind that, right? So it's been a great project and the students have been so excited. More people are coming in than we thought would. So we look at it from what does the community want? Because I know that I can get the students to then step up. And what I've found, we've done this for about 3 years now. And of course we have seniors that are no longer seniors and they are freshmen and sophomores in college. But those kiddos come back and they, when they come in for holidays and when they come back to the center and they talk with the people there and they share with the students, so it's almost a built-in mentoring program that we never really intended it that way. But it's wonderful because it's really helping students that are in the community now see students that are at college being successful in a STEM career and are in a STEM focused area. And so it's starting to build momentum. I'm seeing a lot of numbers changing and that makes me very happy. So that's kind of how we use student voice. The other thing we do is we actually have one person in our office. She is my office mate actually, whose job it is to do student leadership work. So she works on student voice on a regular basis. And it is wonderful to have that, but she brings a lot of, and I didn't realize we were doing student voice today. I totally would have had her on this call because she brings a lot of depth to the program, making sure our students are going deeper and doing the service and the things that they need to do to truly learn that. So.
That's incredible. I would love to see photos of the tree. I mean, what a beautiful project for the whole community. They're going to always, we were talking about this with our Little Free Library STEM kit project, that we're hoping to have little free libraries in Native communities and having families kind of name the Little Free Library and then have them near chapter houses in the Navajo Nation, and getting some of our STEM professionals from Salt River Project to be like the stewards. And the idea that when you drive by it, you're like, that's my Little Free Library. They're going to have that same experience of, I helped design that tree. And that's an amazing opportunity for the rest of their lives, because, you know, being from a small town myself, I just went home and visited our Cuba cheese shop. And it's just like, this is home to me. And I mean, I'm over 40. So it's like those special little things of, oh, this is where we put our time capsule when I was in 3rd grade. Like silly little things.
Exactly. And the big thing that the culminating real event to kick this off, they're doing little pieces right now, but of course, COVID has slowed some of that down. Our hope is that one of our big Remake Learning Days will actually take place at the city park, and the city will be part of that conversation. So it is more community focused, and parents and families will come in and create those leaves for people and their families or loved ones that they want to create a memory leaf for and hang on the tree. So that's our goal with that. Ultimately, we don't know if that's going to happen because we're still waiting, but at least it's outside, right? We're going to set up stations, and our students are being trained now so that they can host those stations so that we can have more people able to do that. So that's kind of where this is going. But with all things, lots of moving parts and lots of things changing those moving parts every day. So
That's incredible, Linda. Thank you so much for sharing. Yeah, I would love, maybe I should send out little reminders of the topics and see if anybody else has special things going on in their area that they'd like to present. Go ahead, Jeannie.
Well, I mean, listening to Linda talk, I wasn't thinking about talking about this, but listening to her talk brought this to mind because I don't know, I feel like I've talked about this a little bit. We have a USDA grant to work with rural teachers in Ohio. So we have a cohort that we're working with all year. So 20 teachers, identified rural teachers in Ohio. And we're doing we had Jeremy Else. He's like the learning rural collaborative hub leader or something. I don't have his title. Like I said, Linda's bringing up things that I was thinking about. So he talked to this group of teachers, and one of the important things he said, you mentioned involving students in kind of the planning and everything. We did not do that, which I wish we had now. But there's no question that when you talk about place-based education, or when you talk about problem-based learning, the students are front and center with that. So a lot of these teachers are doing asset building things, like figuring out the assets of their local community, and they're using students to collect all that information, which I love, because it means that the students are the ones thinking about what's going on in their community, what assets they have in their community, and feeling, getting more connected in their rural areas. So you were talking to Linda about building pride almost, or building that sense of importance to the community. And I think that's what the asset activity that he talked about with our teachers, I think that's what he was helping them to do, where students would maybe not know their community so well. And after doing an asset mapping thing, then they have a sense of pride about what's going on. Next time, I'm going to make sure we have one more year. So this is a 2-year grant. So I want to make sure we have a couple students on our advisory this summer when we start planning for the next year. I'm ashamed to tell you, I just didn't even think about that. So there it is. Next time I'll get it right.
The cool part about it is, when I taught middle school, I actually had learning buddies, and we would go to the 6th graders would go down to the 1st graders, and boy, they're honest. They'll tell you if they don't like the activity. And it's just so funny to think about kindergartners going, we're on the exhibits committee with the Arizona Science Center, and taking a group of kindergartners and saying, do you like this or not? And they're so honest.
That can be painful.
But yeah, I think, even the adults, I've noticed, we're trying to involve people who wouldn't necessarily think they have much to offer to the community, and trying to convince our, some of our rural friends, even the Salt River Project, right? That They were like, oh, my job's not that interesting. I work at SRP. And then she's telling us that she flies in a helicopter to visit all the water locations around the state. Like,
Wow.
that's pretty cool. You can tell sixth graders that, and they'd be like, what, a helicopter? So getting people that are doing these mundane, community jobs that keep the community literally running is so important to help convince the adults that they are an asset. And we talked a little bit about that last month of, a handwritten thank you card can change their day or month. But, so as we all move forward in this still horrible pandemic world we live in, like, oh gosh, I wish it would just go away. I really urge you to, think about that of asking students and, sometimes the adults that would have never been asked because they have something really cool to bring to the table. So that's just a little challenge everybody this month to think about, who haven't I asked? Because the same 10 people are going to come to the table every time you offer something exciting or when you have a committee. So really kind of stepping out of your own comfort zone. And, if you're not comfortable with phone calls, send an email first. But most of those individuals, even, I know stopping by is not the smartest thing right now, but stopping by those locations and saying, hey, do you have anybody that would be interested in this project we're doing over at the park? You would be surprised that you'll find some people in some unique areas. So all right, we have just a couple more minutes, but is there anybody else that'd like to share before the end of our call? Is there anything else you wish we had in this meeting? Go ahead, Jose.
Kelly, yeah, I just want to share a couple of just the curriculum component that we do, because there's a few things that we do for student voice, because that's a big part of our program here. And I like playing around with different instructional models and inquiry methods. And so what I decided to do is, I love the TED Talks and I love citizen science. And so what I decided to do is kind of like create a hybrid of what we call citizen chats. And it allows students to select any topic, things like, I had a student that presented a topic at the high school and talked about mermaids, but it talked about ocean pollution as well, because they have to tie it to the strands for that class, whether it's the math class, science, social studies, English, biomedical class. And through the citizen chats, they have templates that guide them through. Basically what it is problem-based learning. What do you do with this data that you collect? Because that's the citizen science component. And then the TED Talks is just talking about something that you're passionate about. And so really what they do is they do this research, they collect the data through interviews, surveys, focus groups, things like that. And they put it all together. And then, what do you do based off this, this information that you have and to support this idea? And so it was really great to hear this student who loves mermaids, but also managed to talk about ocean pollution and how that's impacting the world. So it had a storyline to go along with this data. And so the students are able to do that, and they talk for just 10 minutes, and then they have 5 minutes of Q&A, but it's also focused on making sure that we focus on those essential skills that they need to have for the workforce. They focus on the content, student voice, and that's one of those pieces that we have in the classroom, along with our project-based learning hallmark projects, which are grand challenges. But with the citizen chats, we have those in 612. So that way they have two different types of projects out there. And so it allows the students to really, get a chance to talk about certain topics that normally they might not have a chance to talk about, and they bring a partner along. So they have to, figure out which of the topics based on what their partner likes to hear and what they want to talk about, and kind of negotiate that and then focus on that one topic. But I'm telling you, it's gone from just, hearing things that are just sometimes interesting, but they make it so much interesting. And it's also gotten to the point now where they're figuring out ways to interact with their audience to make it more engaging. So they have the students, sometimes build and create things or kind of quiz them in different ways of using Kahoots in their presentation. I mean, it's just teaching them different ways to not only present, but those essential skills that they need, along with covering content while they're doing this. So that's been something that's been new, and we're trying something, adding a layer to that for our 8th grade group, where we're going to embed a career component that's coming up spring. So that way they talk about careers that are associated with their topic, so that we can use that information to help guide them into their CTE classes at the high school as well. So that's just one of the pieces that I work with along the curriculum component. And it's worked out great because, like I said, we get to hear very interesting and diverse topics, but also connect to that content piece.
Well, I hope you guys realize you coming every month, it's my audience, right? Everybody who's had the chance to have somebody listen and feel like they're being heard changes so much within you. And to do that at such a young age, to be able to give them that opportunity to have an audience, even the mermaid concept of what are you passionate about and how does it tie to a real life problem, that's powerful. So yeah, if you want to share any information, just drop it in the chat and I'll share it out in the notes, like, you know, where we can find that more information on that. I love Citizen Chats. What a great name. Excellent. Thank you so much for sharing. Anybody else? All right. Well, if you do, drop it in the chat before we hang up. But gosh, I cannot believe it's already January. And if you need any resources, this is a great group to ask. Somebody who has something or know somebody who has something that can help you in whatever you need. And, you know, as rural friends, hey, we got to help each other out and continue to cheer each other on. So kudos to all of you. I hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Sadie, avoid the snow, but make a snowman. Don't drive, but get out there and enjoy it. And like I said, I'm really excited that we've continued these conversations because every time it's a little different and, you know, it continues to inspire me. Might be a little selfish, but I really enjoy this group and appreciate you all joining today's discussion. So, all right, we'll chat soon and I'll send out a follow-up. Thank you, everybody.